This is why you shouldn't put just your knitting in purses and forget about them. Because you'll yank them out and all your stitches will come off the needles. Hello, how are you? Welcome back to Future Fiber. This is our knitting podcast number 2, technically, since I started at 0. Any programmers out here will get the joke. Get it? 0, all right? So I've been thinking about this podcast, and I've been thinking about the cadence at which I should be filming these. The last one had like a month and a half in between the first one and the second one. And this one, well, it's been about like 2 weeks since the last one. So maybe a 2-week cadence is good because I think I have some progress to show everyone. It's not, it's not significant, but it's something. We're all human. I'm not gonna create my whole entire wardrobe in two weeks. So I think it's okay to be realistic. So I wanted to talk about a couple topics today. The first one will be about my plans this year for a no-buy, and it's related to yarn because I am also not going to be buying any yarn. But if you're just interested in looking at the projects, you're like, Jenny, stop talking about irrelevant stuff, then feel free to skip ahead. Here's the time stamp. But if you want to stay, you should stay because it's gonna be interesting. So no-buy. I think maybe this is a trend, or maybe it's the YouTube algorithm reading my mind, because I've been getting a lot of recommended videos about a no-buy year, and I also decided to do it. And then I think primary reasons for doing this are pretty similar to other people. I felt like I was buying a lot of stuff and then having buyer's remorse immediately after, so I would spend all this time and energy and effort returning something. Yeah, and then I wouldn't have the thing anymore and it would be a repeat cycle. I think there's something to be said about being mindful of when you exhibit these reckless purchasing behaviors. I was also finding that I've mentioned this in the first podcast, but I have some stash yarn and I definitely have projects for most of them. I just felt like I was always chasing the next best thing, and you get a little high from getting the yarn in the mail, and then it dies down after you make a little swatch. So this year I have set some goals for myself in terms of the no-buy. Let me go get my notebook and read you those rules. Okay, so this is related. There's some on my no-buy rules that are specifically for yarn, but I'm just gonna go through all of it. The first one is eating out 1 time a week, and I don't really like to cook, so I would always be going out to a restaurant nearby or ordering food in, and it was just, like, I would also have buyer's remorse about that too. Like, I would just eat a meal outside that wasn't that great, and I would feel like, well, I could have just cooked something at home and then saved a lot of money, but instead I went out and spent money on the food and the drinks, and it just felt a little bit bad. Like, sometimes you need it, but most of the times I was doing it just because I was being lazy. I'm also not buying any new shoes or clothes or bags, anything like that. And I just, at this point I have enough clothes for all of the seasons. I have enough clothes for all 4 seasons, and I also have a lot of materials to make new clothes if I needed them, and I'm not really that fashionable, so I don't need to be buying new clothes like every season. It's not like I'm not Kendall Jenner out here buying new clothes every other day and having a fashion runway every time I leave the house, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't need that many clothes. So no new clothes, shoes, etc. so extended to that, this is where we get into the yarn category. We're not buying any new fabric or yarn. And then I put a little bit of a stipulation here until the stash is gone. So this is going to take a long time. Probably until the end of the year. I can't imagine going through all of it that quickly. So there's that. I'm also not going to buy any patterns until I am sure that I'm going to cast them on immediately. I have a tendency to buy a lot of patterns and then just let them rot in my iPad. And they just sit there and they don't see the light of day. For example, I remember the other day that I had actually bought 2 patterns from Augustine, the pattern designer, and I totally forgot about it. And I had to dig through my email to find those 2 patterns that I bought. Which this could have been avoided if I, had just cast on immediately, or if I didn't buy them. And then patterns they're not that expensive, but it's not an insignificant amount of money, especially if you're buying like 5 patterns at once or something. Then it kind of collects, and that's something that could be better spent on maybe yarn that you're going to use immediately, or another pattern that you're going to use immediately. So, just trying to be a little bit mindful of my consumer habits. I think I got into this pattern of buying patterns because I wanted to support the designer, right? Like, I'm like, oh, this is such a cool design. I know that I want to knit this at some point, or I'm going to knit something from this designer at some point. So what if I just buy it now and then have it for when I have the perfect yarn or something? But I forget about these patterns. Like, I will go through my library, but most of the times I just will find something else that I want to knit on Instagram or Pinterest or whatever. So there you have it. The last thing on my no-buy plan is to not buy any home decor or furniture. I had a thing for throw blankets where I just wanted blankets all the time. Same with cushion covers. I think this is a problem because those things are, cheaper to buy, and it freshens up your space or whatever with lower cost, investment. But it piles up, and at a certain point you don't need all those cushion covers. I only have so many cushions. I have only so many couches. And then, on my bed we have 4 pillows, but how many of those pillows stay on the bed as we're going to bed? It's not 4. I'm going to tell you that right now. So all those things considered, that's the no-buy plan. Please keep me accountable. I will try and be as candid as possible every month about, if I kept to it or not. And you will see, because I will share acquisitions if they happen. Oh, a note on acquisitions. Maybe I should talk about this later. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm the one editing this video. Can you hear that? That's the air fryer going. Chicken tenders. What are we talking about? Acquisitions. I will have acquisitions this year because I'm doing a no-buy. But I know that some people really enjoy seeing acquisitions. But I also haven't done a stash tour. So, this is where the stash yarn comes in. I think what I'm going to do is every episode or every other episode, or whenever I feel like it's time for me to cast on a new project, I will try and show the yarn that I'm going to use to cast on a new project in the podcast before. So you get a little bit of an acquisition, you feel, but it's not actually it's like I shopped my stash, but you don't know that. I mean, I will tell you, so you will know that, but yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, well, that was a lot of rambling, but we're going to start with the finished objects. We have a couple. Not too many, but the first one that I want to start with is this dishcloth. It's disgusting right now because I was actually using it in my kitchen. But this dishcloth is from a pattern from Purl Soho, and I believe it's called the Slip Stitch dishcloth, and the pattern is free, and there's 3 of them in the same page, I guess, blog post. And I chose the one that's kind of like the basket stitch one because it looked the easiest to me. And I liked that it had the vertical stripes going, or vertical lines going, but it wasn't intarsia. And this is like technically my first color work project, but it was a lot of fun. And it was really easy and fast. I knit this with wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton. Yes. I don't remember the colorways, so I will put them on the screen here. But I think I mentioned this before, where I bought the yarn from a kit. Like, it was like a cardigan and like top kit, and I just never made the 2 things. Oh yeah, I'm wearing that cardigan right now, the April cardigan that I made from the same yarn. But it's not the April cardigan, is a Petiteknit pattern, so clearly it wasn't with the Wool and the Gang kit. But it was knit flat and I just didn't want to do it. So it got turned into a dishcloth. This is nice. It's not as absorbent as like a towel, but it's nice because it's cute in the kitchen. So I have like a rag to actually use for like kitchen-y things, and this I just like wipe my hands on. But then my hands are still wet because this is not that absorbent. So maybe use a different yarn if you're going to do this. But it's cute. Do I have anything else to say about this? I think I made a modification where they originally wanted the edges to be all I-cord all around. I was not going to do an I-cord all around for a dish towel. So what I ended up doing was a slip stitch with a crochet hook all the way around. And I think the effect is fine. Like, listen, I am happy to do an I-cord for... No, I'm never happy to do an I-cord, but especially not for a freaking dish towel. But I'm sure the result is great. The next finished object is this. Oh, let me see if I can get it on. Is this Balaclava? Well, this is the Serpent Balaclava from Milena, Pauliina, I believe. And it's called a Serpent Balaclava because it has these frills on it, and I guess they look like kind of like snakes. It's pretty cute. I like it. And this was like a scrap project, stash busting project, because I had knit a hat for a friend using this yarn, which is Fyberspates CoopKnits Socks Yeah in the color Xenon. It's a, let's see, 75% wool and 25% nylon sock yarn, but I held it together with drops Kidsilk Mohair in like a white color for most of this, and then I ran out of that. So that I had to dig into a different mohair that I had, which is the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in, what color is this? I have a scrap. Unicorn purple. You can't really tell. It's such a light mohair that you can't, like, maybe you can tell. This is the transition mark. You can kind of tell. It kind of gets purple in the ribbing. So that's that. This is off gauge. The original pattern calls for 3 strands of mohair held together. And I think that worked out to be like a DK-ish gauge. This was not DK. So I think I actually cast on some extra stitches on the top and picked up extra stitches just around the head and everything. And then I also still ran out of yarn, so this ribbing for the neck is obviously supposed to be longer down this way, and it also has frills on the base of the neck. We didn't get there, and this frill is also shorter because of the row gauge difference. I think it's still successful. So I had some mishaps with this. Mishap number 1, I got to the end of the ribbing and I had used all of this pink yarn. So I was like, all right, what if I do a contrast trim of the frills using just like this purple mohair? And then it was a little bit too, how do I say, what's the right word here? It was a little bit too Claire's, a little bit too limited to, if you remember that store, a little bit too Justice. Like I just felt like the combination of the pink and the purple was just like not it. It was not the vibe. Like this was just this pink, I feel like could be in the realm of like, oh, like that's cool and quirky, but like that was getting into like child territory, and I was like, I am a 28-year-old woman. I should not be wearing this out in public. Therefore, I frogged it, and then yeah. Mishap number 2, I actually lost this project for like a solid 24 hours. And then I was going crazy. I was looking everywhere for this, and I thought I was having, I don't know, like I thought I was having some sort of an episode. I was like, this, how do I lose this in my house? And then guess where I found it? In the freezer. It's because I was trying to frog this mohair, and I had heard this tip that if you put it in the freezer, it frogs better. That's that. That's my second finished object. I like it though. The third one, we have some gloves. I showed the work in progress of this in the last podcast, but these are the split mittens by Winwick Mum. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. And I knit this with Berroco Mochi and then Lion's brand, feels like Butta, held together, and it makes a really dense fabric and it's really warm. I wore it out ice skating and it was perfect, and I like that you can do this and then you can also do this. So your hands will be free to do whatever your heart's desire. I recommend the pattern. I don't recommend, I don't know how I feel about the Mochi yarn. Like, I think it's really cute, but it's not particularly soft, and it's also kind of like blown chainette, so it squishes down, and I'm not sure what I would use it for. Like, I feel like it has to be, it also has like thickness variance in the yarn, so I feel like it gives it kind of like a weird rustic vibe if you're just knitting with it alone. Yeah, I don't know what you would use it for, because I think if you made a cardigan or something out of it, it would be kind of like cold, because like wouldn't the air get in? But I love these. These are good. I'm thinking maybe I'll put like a little I-cord to connect between the two so that I don't lose them, because I already lost like every glove whatever I've knit. I already lost one of them, so I have mismatching pairs of gloves, and I feel like this is a problem that I could solve if I just did the I-cord. So that's number 3. The next one, I'm not sure if it counts as a finished object, but I finished knitting, so it's fine. And it's this modified Ranunculus cardigan. I actually tried to film the process of me editing this cardigan, so I will roll the tapes now. Okay, I knit this Ranunculus like a year ago, and I just never wear it because of a couple things, but the neckline is really wide and it's not very stretchy. Wide and not stretchy at the same time, so it's hard getting it over my head. And then it doesn't have short rows, which I could have sworn the pattern had short rows, but I I don't know, the back and the front is the same. So that's another reason why I don't wear it. And what I was thinking was, I mean, I don't know if it's going to work out. What if I take this and then steek it down the middle so that it's a cardigan, so the back and front being different isn't as big of a deal, I guess. And then it would also solve the neckline issue. And this is knit with drops alpaca silk and then a strand of Colourmart cashmere. I don't have the cashmere anymore. I used every last scrap of it for a Sophie scarf, and it's, yeah, I don't have enough even if I took apart the Sophie scarf. So what I'm going to try and do is I have this other, I think it's a similar weight, but I have this other, what's this guy? I have this other Colourmart cashmere that I'm going to use with the whatever alpaca silk I have, like that, and then make a contrast button band. And then also I'm thinking if I have enough, maybe I'll do a contrast kind of collar so that it sits over this ribbing. And I don't really like the way that this ribbing turned out either. I did something wrong with the cast on. So yeah, I think we'll give it a go. We'll see how it goes. The fabric, because of the alpaca silk, it kind of sticks to itself, so I think it's a really good candidate for steeking. I don't know if it falls apart, then that's just how it's gonna be. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do here is really trying to find the center of this garment, and I was going to wing it and just guesstimate where the middle of the sweater is, but I probably shouldn't do that. So I'm trying to, you know, set myself up for moderate success here. And I put a stitch marker here underneath this terrible raglan hole that I got under the armpit of the sleeve. And I did the same on the other side. And then I'm going to count all the stitches from one to the other, and then yeah, try and find the middle using that. I guess this lace stitch is gonna get chopped in half, maybe. So I might have to kind of, if I can't get this secured, this edge, I might have to go around this middle lace so that I would be losing a couple stitches in the middle, but I guess it's fine because I'm gonna put in a button band, and this is already like really wide for my body. So what I was trying to convey is that me losing this lace in the middle is not going to affect fit. And then I have a crochet hook here. I probably need to get a different size. What is this? This is 6mm. I think I need something smaller. And then I'm going to try and secure the, I'm going to try and secure the stitches down the middle on either side with slip stitches, which I think is what you're supposed to do. And then we're going to cut it. I kind of finished doing the one side. They're not slip stitches. They're just single crochet, I think. But do I gotta do it again? Because it's kind of flaring out like this. And I think I needed to use a smaller crochet hook and maybe a thinner yarn. But I don't want to do it again. So maybe I just do this side and see if it's gonna be a big deal. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Whatever. Okay. I did the other side. And the other side definitely was a winner. I used a thinner yarn and then also a smaller needle. I used like 5mm, which is irrelevant information because I don't remember what I knit the original sweater in, so I have no point of reference. I was just blindly going into it. I should undo the left side and then, you know, do what I did for the right side, but life is short and life is a gamble, so I'm just gonna go forward. Okay, at this point I picked up all the stitches down the side like so, and then I don't know what did I use. What is this? 4.5 millimeter needles, and then I'm going to do a double knitted button band. I hate the process of it, but it looks really nice. So okay, so the lace actually worked out that it was spared from the scissors, which is really nice. So I have matching lace on either side, which is cool. And then once I do the button band, I'll see if I have enough yarn to do like a kind of like a collar that's comes like folds over, you know. We'll see. Talk about it a little bit more, just simply. Steeked it, added the double knit button band, picked up all the, you know, all the stitches, and then just knit it. And then I did a collar, a very tall collar that's just like a knit purl 1x1, but it's I tried to match the ribbing pattern that's already on the Ranunculus, and I believe it's twisted for the knit stitches and then twisted knit stitches and then regular purl. So I tried to match that here, which was kind of annoying because this wasn't the flat, so you would have to kind of like, you know, twist the purls on one side and then like twist the knits on one side. It was not great, but we managed. And then the effect is, maybe I can try it on top of this because I'm not taking this off. Yeah. Oh, I gotta weave that in. But you get this kind of like sailor collar, almost like a shawl collar-ish look. And I think it's pretty cute. And it solved the problems that I had with this Ranunculus, which was that the neckline was kind of wide, but also not stretchy at the same time. So every time I put it over my head, I would have to like, and I think I would just get more wear out of this as a cardigan. So I will report back if I ever put the buttons on this, which hopefully will be soon. The last thing I need to do is kind of bind off this raw edge on this Ranunculus cardigan, and I'm going to do that with this ribbon. I think I'm going to fold this in half like a bias tape, and then encase the raw edges, like just whoop, with the ribbon. And the reason I am doing that is because if I just sew the ribbon on either side down the strip, then you can see the different color of yarn that I use through the lace. Let me see if I can show you, like here. Oh, here we go. This is much better to stick with, secure the stitches with. So that's why I'm doing the bias binding method. Is that all the finished objects? Oh yeah. Let's get into the work in progresses. Let's talk about the sock. The sock in progress. Okay, so last time you saw I was working on the body, or what is this called? The body of the foot, maybe? I did the heel turn, and then now we're working on the ankles, I guess. I don't know sock anatomy. I did, what is this? I did the German short row heel. Mostly because that's like the only one I know how to do, other than like the flap, heel flap one. And I don't like doing the heel flap one. I don't know why. I think it's like a mental thing where I don't want to pick up stitches, but I'd rather do German short rows. So I know that, you know, the heel flap one fits better. I do know when it wears better, but I feel like this one's easier for me. So I am also like, I prefer doing toe up rather than cuff down because I'll cuff. That's the top. I'm working on the cuff right now. Anyway, I prefer the toe up. I don't want to do a Kitchener stitch, so I rather do a Judy's Match cast on. I think I'm almost done. I don't know if I have yarn to finish this pair though, so I might have to cut this short and then switch to the contrast yarn, which is not my favorite, but you know what, this was a stash busting project, so we'll see. Maybe by the time I do the next podcast I will have casted on the second sock. Next work in progress is the scarf number 2 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Oh my god, that looks so pretty. Wow. Okay, so this, I am knitting this with the Biscotte Yarns Yak. I got this from the advent calendar that I bought last year, and this is 50% yak and 50% silk. So I knew that with these, I got 2 of these, and then I have one that's in a different, like more brownie color, and I knew that I wanted to make some sort of scarves out of them because I felt like the fiber content would just make a very nice sack or scarf with drape. So this is not to gauge. Again, I don't knit anything to gauge because I am a disaster human, but I really like this lace pattern, which is why I chose the scarf number 2, and I really like trying things like this out in a smaller item before I translate them into a large item like a sweater, because I already screwed up on the lace like multiple times. I am really bad at reading charts. I am having to kind of basically have us post it on my iPad and then move it up every time I finish a row, because otherwise I can't keep track, and I would get to the end of a row and I'll be like, oh my god, the pattern is off, and I don't know why. And I think it's usually because I forget to do an increase or just like add an extra, just messed up the pattern somewhere. But it's been happening on like multiple rows on this, so. And this is not very hard. Like, this is not that intricate of a pattern. It's just knits and purls and, you know, eyelets. So I'm really scared for anything that's more complicated. My brain can't handle that. So the original is supposed to be, when it's finished, is supposed to be 100 centimeters long. I don't know if it's gonna get to 100 centimeters. I have 2 lace sections left, and I don't think we're gonna get there, but we'll see. And then it'll block out and bloom a little bit more, so I'm excited to have this. I think I will use most of this yarn, which is really good, and that will be another count for me in busting my stash. Okay, the next one is, oh, I don't know if you can tell what that is. It's the start of a Maude Tee. So I've actually knit a Maude Tee before, about like a year and a half ago, but this time I wanted to, I know Petiteknit has released the modified version of the Maude Tee, which is the Elizabeth blouse, which has the double knit collar, same as the Maude Tee, but it's long sleeves and it doesn't have the button holes going down the front, so that you get a more like, in contemporary like stores like and other stores or Arket or literally anywhere, honestly, COS, they all have that kind of polo shirt kind of look. Knits going on right now, so I'm trying to achieve the same thing with this, but I didn't want to buy the pattern for the Elizabeth blouse, so I'm just knitting a Maude Tee and then not adding the buttons. But okay, so I already see a problem here, which is that this is not to gauge of the regular pattern, so the neck, I feel like I've cast it on too much. You see how it's already coming down here? Do I need to frog this? Maybe it'll just be really oversized. I'll wear it with a shirt underneath. I don't want to frog this. It's too late. I've committed. So anyway, the plan is to not make buttonholes. Maybe I'll have to make buttonholes now that I've realized my mistake. And then just knit it long sleeves. And then the yarn that I'm using is this Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn in the color, I believe it's Renaissance. And my boyfriend got me like a sweater's quantity of this sock yarn last Valentine's Day, and it was really nice of him, but this is not really the color that I use normally. Like, it's a little bit too saturated. So I try to tone it down with holding it together with this Colourmart yarn. And I can tell you the contents of this. This is DK Weight Baby Alpaca Linen Miracle. It's this kind of like heathery, pinkish, brownish yarn, and I feel like it makes a really nice fabric that I'm excited to wear. Hopefully I knit this really fast because I would like to get some wear out of it before it gets to be spring, so I'm gonna have to speed up on this one. So that's my second work in progress, and then third work in progress, sorry, I can't count. And then the last one this is not actually a work in progress yet because I haven't actually done anything, but this is the Maude Tee that I was talking about. And then this is knit with a Shopple wool something. I'll put it over here. I held it together, like it's a sock yarn, and I held it double for this. So this is really heavy and it's wool. But it's short sleeves, which seems really impractical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpick the sewn hem on the sleeves and then just knit them to be long sleeves. I have like this much yarn left of this, so I have two options here. Buy another ball, which I feel like goes against my no buy, or I unravel the bottom and then like knit the sleeves and then just have it be a crop top. This is shorter than, I don't know, like I feel like if I don't do the double folded up edges, it could be okay. It won't match like the original Maude Tee design, but I don't know, like I just need to be able to wear this, you know. I don't wear this enough, and it's like a nice piece and I put a lot of work into it, so I would like to be able to wear it, and it would be much more wearable if it was long sleeves. So that's the last work in progress. And then acquisitions. The next project that I actually want to cast on is, you can kind of see it over here in my swatch ball. It's a new addition. I'm going to be knitting an Ingrid sweater. I know I am very late to the trend. This happened 2022 in the spring and everybody already has an Ingrid sweater, but I'm planning to make a video talking about like my Pinterest board. I don't know if anyone's gonna watch it, but one of the things that kept coming up for me that is kind of lacking in my wardrobe is kind of a cable knit pullover. And I didn't want to knit the Moby sweater just yet. It's nice, but I want to do a different kind of like Aran, a more traditional Aran sweatery pattern. So that's why I didn't want to do the Moby sweater. But in the meanwhile, I also wanted to kind of ease myself into charts and cables. Well, this is faux cables, but you know, you get the point. So I'm going to do that, and then the acquisition or the yarn that I have for that is, this is also a Kingston acquisition. I bought this in the yarn shop in Kingston. And this is Jill Draper Makes Stuff Empire, and I don't know what the color is. Maybe I took a picture of the label, so if I find it, you will be the first to know, because I don't know. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of this yarn, but the yarn literally comes in a baby size. It's the size of a small human child. Like, it's this big, and it's a fat single, kind of like a skein of yarn, and you have to wind it. I didn't know that when I bought it. I was just like, hell yeah, a single thing of yarn. That means I don't have to connect any yarns. Well, I do have to connect yarns now because I ended up, you know, balling these up into 3 large balls because I just couldn't handle like 1 large ball. I wanted it to happen, but my yarn winder and my, you know, switch, they were not having that. So 3 balls. But this is also not to gauge. You see a trend here? I don't knit anything to gauge because I like to be rebellious and then I regret all of my decisions. It's a little bit bigger. This is like, is this Aranite worsted? Definitely thicker than DK, which is like the recommended yarn weight for the pattern. For the Ingrid sweater, so we'll see how it turns out. Honestly, I made 2 swatches, one on the needle size that Petiteknit suggests for the Ingrid sweater, which is 4mm, and then I went one size up, 4.5, and then I knitted another swatch, and I think I like the 4mm swatch better. I like how it looks better, but then I don't like, it feels a little bit like an armor. But then it's kind of hard to tell from a gauge, like how flowy a garment is gonna be. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I will just cast on a random needle size like I always do. I can't ever find the right needles, so sometimes I end up with needle sizes that are not to pattern, and nothing has gone catastrophically wrong yet. So maybe this will be the project that will humble me. Okay, well, I guess that's everything. All right, I guess that's it. There are some other projects that are still in work in progress for me, like there's like a blanket project, and then camisole number 5 that I'm still kind of chipping away at, but I didn't think they were very interesting to show, which is why I skipped them. But maybe next podcast I will have more work on those done. It's just difficult to knit consistently on things that I don't want to be knitting. So you guys are supposed to be holding me accountable, so let me know in the comments, I guess, if you want me to work on those and you want to see the finished objects for those. But other than that, thank you for joining me once again, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. There's people outside doing something, construction. Please! Are they okay out there? What's happening? There's roofers outside.